Welcome back to 5 Live. Now, amidst the coronavirus contagion, the ban on entry of passengers from the United Kingdom and several other countries in Europe has come into effect from today. The ban is on incoming travelers from most notably the United Kingdom, European Union, Switzerland, Turkey, Iceland and Norway. The curbs were announced by the government as part of preventive measures, but it has jeopardized the travel plans of hundreds, perhaps thousands of Indians, many of them students. With work from home mode coming into effect and classes going online, Indians in the United Kingdom who were set to visit home are now left stranded as a result of those travel curbs that have come into effect from today. However, Indian officials abroad have asked passengers and especially students not to panic. The Indian officials in London said that people can register with the High Commission of India London website for direct dissemination of information and possible advice on what perhaps they can do next. Joining me live, I have 3 students live with me now. One student, Niharika Alva, who studies in London, recently returned. She was able to make it back before the ban came into effect. We also have Arushi Dutt, who's a student at the University of East Anglia, and Trishala, who is also with me from the UK. Niharika, I want to come to you first because could you tell us about your decision to come back before the travel ban came into effect? What was your experience? Did you consciously decide that I need to come back at this time before any kind of ban comes into effect?
Yeah, that's actually exactly what happened. I initially did not want to come back, but the way the British government was handling the situation didn't exactly inspire much confidence. They seemed to be going for they seemed to be okay with the fact with a large percentage of the population getting infected for some kind of herd immunity. And despite, they were saying one thing, like the Prime Minister Boris Johnson was saying that people shouldn't gather out in public, but schools were still open, pubs were still open. And when the first travel ban came into place, when it was targeting 4 European countries, it was at that point that my parents were like, do you think you should start thinking about coming home? Because were I to get infected, I would be on my own. I live in a university accommodation. There are 13 other people on my floor. We share bathrooms and a kitchen. And if something were to happen to me, I would probably put all of them at risk as well. And so I was actually supposed to come back this... Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. Niharika, since you got back, you've been in self-imposed isolation, right? How did you take that decision? The reason I'm asking is because there are many people who aren't doing that, and there are fears that many people who are coming back aren't actually taking the decision that you have.
Well, I landed in Bombay. I live in Bangalore, but the only flight I could get was to Bombay. Over there, they did some kind of initial screening. They sort of scanned me with a thermal scanner, and I was asked to fill up a form. They made no mention of self-isolation. When I met the immigration officers, I asked them, do you think I should self-isolate? And they said no. And I found that very surprising and negligent, considering the number of cases in London and in the UK. Also, so I did not want to put anyone else at risk. And essentially, this is you could say, a rich, privileged person's disease, because we're the ones who are privileged enough to live abroad and study abroad, and we're bringing it back, and we could potentially infect people who do not have the privilege to not go to work for 2 weeks. And so I did not want to infect members in my family who are compromised, who have asthma or who are old.
Arushi, what's your experience being? You're still in the United Kingdom right now. What is your experience? Are you looking to come back home because the ban is in effect now? What are you thinking?
Yes, so my original plan was to leave on the 22nd of March, which is this Sunday. The ban came into place on the 16th. By the time I found out about the ban and tried to look up flights to leave on an immediate basis, because that's what I was trying to do these past couple of days, there were no flights going out because of this ban. So it really put me in a state of panic and stress right now. So as of now, we're just waiting for the next steps to be taken, and that'll be announced by the government. So we're just waiting for instructions to go ahead.
Okay, so the Indian High Commission has, of course, said that they will have advice on a day-to-day basis, so I hope that's reaching you. Trishala, what about you? Has this ban hampered your travel plans to come back to India? What are you planning to do right now?
So it definitely has, because my visa was initially expiring on 24th of March and I was traveling on 23rd.
Yeah.
And now I don't know what will be my visa status, and on top of that, if I travel at this date, it's going to affect me. I'm very sure of it, because most of the infection people are getting from airports and like the big gathering places. So I'm trying to avoid as much as possible. I've tried to contact the university. They said there cannot be an extension with my student visa, but they have kind of reported to the immigration saying that I would have to stay a little bit more because of all these problems and the travel ban. That's all they have done. And the High Commission, they are not responding much. They have initially, when the travel ban came into picture and I called them up, they just said, you, if possible, just move out of the country as soon as possible. But how is that possible? I've stayed here for 1.5 years now, and I was not doing like a backpack thing and just moving away like in some hours or few hours.
I understand.
That was like physically not possible.
And the reason I know what all of you are going through is because I happen to have studied in the United Kingdom as well, even though that was many years ago. Niharika, you were in the position that Trishala and Arushi were in just a few days ago, but you did manage to make it back. Would you have any words of advice? Because they're there now, they've got certain uncertainties on their hands. They're wondering if there's going to be more information. What advice would you give to Arushi and Trishala, if I could put you in that spot, Niharika?
Well, actually, when it didn't look like I was going to get a ticket, a few of my friends were they're still there right now. And there's actually large volunteer networks. So because a lot of us are alone, and if something were to happen, you don't know who you can depend on to say, buy groceries or medicines. So there are volunteer groups that you can sign up with. And so if anything happens, someone will help you out. And if something happens to one of them, if there's like an elderly person there, you might be asked to, buy groceries for them or something like that. I think that could be quite helpful. And obviously, stay inside, because when I was in London, people were not acting like there was any kind of pandemic or emergency. People were still going out, they were still out there. So I think just stay inside and don't panic and look for a volunteer group.
Okay. Well, Arushi and Trishala, I hope I hope you feel better soon. I hope there's more clarity. I can assure you that the Indian High Commission will have information for you. And I also want to tell you that we will continue this conversation. You know how to reach us. We know how to reach you. We'll continue to tell your stories and put your voices out there. The government's listening. They will provide some next steps to all of you so that some of this uncertainty evaporates as quickly as possible. And I want to thank all three of you for joining me here, including Niharika, who's actually in self-imposed isolation, and she continues to be with us. Thank you very much, ladies, for joining me on this quick discussion here on 5 Live. Well, that's a wrap on the show. Thanks very much for watching.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.